What's happening, MuniciPals? This is Big Chris. We have to talk about Matchstick Golf. If you're a listener of the pod, you know by now that Matchstick Golf is our favorite golf ball marker designer, and it's a local company based here in Portland, Oregon. This company was founded by our buddy Dane Delgado, who was sick of giant, heavy pog slammers being used as ball markers when he was golfing. Matchstick markers are about the size of a quarter. Each design is unique. Right now, Matchstick is offering 15% off your first order at matchstickgolf.com with the code MUNICIPALS. So head on over to matchstickgolf.com, enter MUNICIPALS at checkout, and tell them your boy sent you. Up next, you'll be listening to part 2 of our wonderful conversation with award-winning and New York Times best-selling author Tom Coyne. Please enjoy.
How hard did you push it? Till I black out? Yes. Numerous times, yes.
So one thing I wanted to ask you, with writing the trilogy, a course called Scotland, Ireland, and now America, what are the things you have seen and done in Scotland and Ireland that would make golf better in America?
Yes. Yeah, you travel around there, you always find things or pick up things that you're like, I wish we did this at home. So, one, we've talked about a lot, the notion of visitor golf and visitor tee times. That's good. And a lot of the courses, when you get a visitor tee time, like say at like Machrihanish, you don't get a visitor tee time so much. You become a member for a day. So you have access to the bar and the locker room and all that. So that's super cool. Member for a day. So I like that. Number one. Pace of play, I like very much. They really do get on with it. The walking nature of golf over there. There are very few golf carts. It's still like, and I was reminded of this on my trip in Ireland, recently, because as the Murrays were getting sore and we couldn't get their massages, there was more requests for, I'd really like to ride today. And fair enough. I totally understood that and was trying to accommodate it. And it wasn't always that easy. Because it's still very much a walking golf culture over there. So I like that. We could do more of that. It's interesting. Nobody carries their bag. It's all trolleys, as they say, which we would call push carts. So everyone's got a trolley, often motorized. And so they have like big tour bags. So they can stuff all their rain gear in them. That's what I think. Like they carry a lot of stuff. Like my Irish and Scottish friends, when I play with them, like if I need something, I'm pretty sure it's in their golf bag, whether it be a sandwich, a woolly hat, an umbrella, a new pair of shoes. They probably have it on them because they have and I have nothing in my bag because I always carry, right? So I keep it like super light. And anyway, so they push and I like that. So the trolley culture over there is strong. It's quite strong. Pace of play. What else? It's just a little simpler. The whole thing just has a vibe to it, where it's not. It's you're out just to have some fun. Try and score some points because they play a lot more Stableford, which I think would also be good for us to do. Use a point system, and afterward, it's it's just a nice. It's not a big deal to go. Like a lot of times, I feel like going to the club, getting dressed up, not getting dressed up and making sure you're dressed appropriately. That there's sometimes going to, not my club necessarily, but a lot of clubs in the Philadelphia section, it's a little bit of a scene and it's a big day out, and it's a thing. And that's cool because you want golf to feel special. But I don't know. Like when you roll up and there's kids on the putting green wearing a soccer jersey and in jeans, I'm just like, you know what? It's cool. We're just gonna go play a game today and chill out and have fun. And it's I don't know. I don't need to feel like I'm going to see the Queen. So that's good too. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can be a sloppy dresser and play over there as well.
Yeah. Well, as someone who it's interesting.
Untuck your shirts.
I grew up in Atlanta, which is obviously far more liberal than people realize. But I say 3 or 4 years ago when I lived there, I was playing with a buddy at a private club, and I have like sleeve tattoos. I've got a lot of tattoos, but very visible ones. And you're playing golf. And I was playing with him, and they let me in, and I was chipping and putting, and I saw someone like the head pro like running down, and he was like, he just comes up to me and in a very pointed way goes, "So who are you a guest of?" And it was just this feeling of like, I've been at the place for 5 minutes, and I was like,
yeah,
I just don't feel welcome here.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And that feeling of like you're saying the opposite of member of a day, right? It's like, hey, I guess you're gonna play here today. But like immediately I had hit 2 chip shots, and I was like, you can kind of feel like that tingling in your toes of like,
totally.
Like when a policeman pulls you over and you're like, oh no, was I speeding? So my buddy's like, how are you? And I didn't tell him, but I was just like, all day I was just kind of like, I don't love that. So yeah, any place, again, it can be private, but when there's kids in soccer jerseys, just come as you are and enjoy yourself for the day. No, you don't belong here, but you're certainly welcome. I think the welcome is as much a thing as anybody, or as anything.
I think that's what I'm after when I was trying to say all that, is that it's the welcome, right?
Welcome.
Like some of these places do welcome okay, but one thing we like to do in America is make you feel lucky that you're here. And that's and then if we do that, you'll think we're awesome. Right.
Yeah.
And it works the complete opposite. We don't think you're awesome.
It generally does. I mean, you can come away from it feeling like, whoa, that was so intimidating, and I can't believe how cool that was, and you can brag to your friends about it. But did you really have fun? Right. And I think now your generation is gonna, at the end of the day, it's just about fun. So did I have fun? And the welcome is a huge part of that. So that idea of and that's why I like rave about Oakmont in the book, because of the private golf courses that I played, in terms of like with a huge reputation and a golf course that would have every right to sort of make you look down their nose at you mere visitor and why are you here? Like they're the opposite. I mean, maybe it's a Pittsburgh thing, but like I felt so comfortable. I've been there a few times since, and just like, man, that's just a place where I feel like they want you to come see how great their golf course is. They want you to shop your ass off in the shop. They want you to hang out. They want you to be comfortable in the locker room. And it's just it's a place that isn't trying to like show off and make you feel like you're fortunate to be there. So and there are other places like that. And when you find those, it's great. And when you find the opposite, it kind of sucks. So.
Well, I was laughing, when you were mentioning, I'm not going to make you comment because obviously you wrote the book, but I was laughing you were at Friar's Head, right? I mean, that course sounded amazing, but the idea of, 2 things. One, I'm like you, like I probably too much fixate on like putting up a number, but like someone tries to give me a 6-footer. I'm like, even if it's for myself, it's like, no, I want to putt it. I want to know what I shot today. I don't want to, shot 75, but you just gave me 6-footers all day.
Right.
So the idea of the no tees, that must have been a bit jarring. I've never played somewhere like that. But then the idea too of like, you have to let the caddies fix your ball marks. I was just like, I mean, that just feels,
I couldn't do it.
That just feels, they would start smacking my hand to be like, stop. But I'm sure you had that experience too, because we're so ingrained to do certain things. And it's like, pick my tees and you fix my ball marks. Like, where the fuck am I?
Yeah, right.
And it's like, oh, you're at Friar's Head.
And I'll tell you what, it's that Friar's Head is so good. They could tell me that I'd have to let the caddy like hit the ball for me too, and I'd probably be like, "That's cool," because it's so damn good. And Friar's Head is such a unique experience, and so it's always that fine line of like, is this cool or is this because it's different, or is this like, is this kind of like weird and messing up my day?
It sounded awesome. I mean, the way you wrote it, like, I was like, fuck, I want to get out here. Like, this sounds so weird, but this place sounds incredible.
It's one of the great, unique, awesome days in golf, but definitely a place. You're not going to get any warm and fuzzies, from hanging out there. But, The people in the pro shop were fantastic, and it was, we were there unaccompanied, and so like and the caddies were great and all that, but it's so damn good. Like the golf holes are so good. But that's a part in the book where I talk about like I'm making this like daily awkward bargain by like playing and loving these golf courses that probably most people that read the book are never going to have the chance to play. And that's even saying that sounds elitist, regardless of the fact that I was going to places that were very elite.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky thing. And then, but at the end of the day, I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm a golfer and I want to play good golf courses. So,
well, and it's also called a course called America. And if you weren't showcasing every level of what is considered American golf, it wouldn't have been a complete piece of work. So I think you had to play the Friars Heads, and then you had to play, all those other tracks that you were able to get through on this journey, because in the one thing, the course that you fell in love with was not anywhere near Friars Head. At the end of your book.
No. So, the Great American Golf Course that I was looking for is not like a Friars Head. So, and I think thank you, Chris. I agree. I think that's more than a convenient excuse for playing fancy places. I think also I want to take readers to places like when you'd say, "Oh, I shouldn't play places that the readers like your average reader wouldn't go." But then again, that's the reason you do go. And this might sound self-serving, but don't you want to know what it's like to play at Augusta or Pine Valley or Friars Head? Yeah. I'd like to know. And damn it, I'll put myself out there, and if I have to be the one, I will do it for you. I do it for the kids, man. I do it for you. No, and it's like a fine line of like, at the end of the day, I'm damn fortunate, and I get to play some pretty awesome places, but that's not always my favorite days of golf, or not the most important golf courses either. So we talked about a lot of the places that are, whether it be on a reservation or the Great American Golf Course that isn't fancy at all. So, or the municipal golf courses that you guys are telling people about. So it's that's what it's about.
So I got one more question before we get off here with you.
All right.
So this is actually from our producer Jack. With all the courses that you came across throughout your entire journey, and even over any time that you've played golf outside of writing for the book, if money wasn't an option, name a few public tracks that you would renovate, and who would you bring on to renovate them for you?
Okay. So right now, one I already mentioned, because I did grow up playing Cobb's Creek from time to time. I grew up playing at Rolling Green where I caddied, but on Mondays or whatever, there were times we would go over to Cobb's, was down the road. We called it Slobs Creek, and because it was usually in pretty rough shape, but its layout, its design, its bones, its history, that's number one on my list. And thankfully, Gil Hands and with Jim Wagner have done and that's who I'd want to do it. Guys in Philly who get it, and they're doing it. So that one's actually happening. So that's cool. Where else? I would say, I have to remember like some of the. Okay, all right. I would love to get my hands on. There's so many different options. He does, because I'm trying to think of like
cold. It's a tough question.
I know.
Cold.
I need to research my because there's all these courses like locally that are like popping into my head. There's the golf course up by Catansic called Marion, which is a little 9-hole public in Marion, Massachusetts. they are, and I don't know if it's a George Thomas, and it's just I think it's the first thing he ever did before going out and doing, Riviera and LACC and all that. And that's a charmer. And I don't know if it needs a lot, but if I guess you'd want Jeff Shackelford to get in there because he's the George Thomas guy and scholar, and get to just to tidy that up a bit, and that could be somewhere really special. It's just a little rough around the edges. It has like stone walls running through it and some really, really, really cool stuff. And I'm trying to think any Irish courses or Scottish courses. Nah, I can't touch those. It's sacred. Where else?
So while you're racking that, I will say for us, a big one that we have been talking about, and we have a battle with and kind of a love-hate with, is Sharp Park.
I thought you may mention Sharp Park.
And
well, for me, it's not a battle. This has been the issue, Tom. So 2 weeks ago, I played there, and it just offended me. It's the putting. The greens are like Plinko. It's just it sucks. The way it is right now is terrible, and it's gotten worse. So part of the debate we had, I just came on and I was pissed, as I was just saying, I just don't know, a place like that. And the problem, for context, is it's actually, even though it's in Pacifica, it's owned by the San Francisco Parks Department, which, from everything that we know, they really don't care about golf or making golf good. They just cash the checks and move on.
Right.
But a big thing there is I feel like so many people apologize for Sharp Park, because it's you walk on there and it's oh, see that Mackenzie bunker? It's no, I don't. No. I know in theory what this is. I know in theory what this should be. But the analogy I used on the podcast with Chris is if you come out and visit and you're I want good sushi, right? What I'm not going to say is, hey, Tom, just as context, this sushi place, every time I go, the fish is not good. We're probably not going to go there, right? There are other sushi restaurants.
Yeah.
And Sharp Park has gotten to the point where the pace of play is good, but the conditions are bad. The greens are abysmal. And I think going back to what I really appreciate about you so much, and one of the reasons I love Chris so much, you can say a lot about the two of you. You guys clearly give a shit. And I just don't, I struggle to be around people or involved in anything that's apathy, right? Just whatever. And I think the thing that I feel at Sharp Park, and maybe it's the SF Parks Department, but I just don't want to keep banging the drum, or more importantly, filling the coffers of a place that's basically just telling me, you don't care? We're just gonna roll the ball out there today, and you're gonna come back out. And so we had this debate, I don't expect you to kind of have an opinion per se, but I was yo, make it a park. Just give it back to the community. I think it's gone. Unless someone is going to, they were allegedly going to do, get $5 million and get Gil out there, sure, sign me up for that. But that has supposed to be coming for 10 years. And at what point do I cut our losses and go to the other 1,000 amazing, really good Bay Area courses and stop being well, it's got good bones. Well, does it? Because half the holes are not the originals, and the bunkers don't look good, and there's some holes that suck, and the greens are too small, and they putt badly, and it's also weirdly $57 to play still, which is not actually that cheap, which I don't like to be on a public podcast talking about shit, talking Sharp Park. But what we also try to do is be honest to people. And if you're going to leave your family and spend 6 hours away from home, including travel time and all this stuff, and go out there and not feel like you can have a competitive putt. Well, again, where people like to hit cups.
Yeah.
I guess I shot 84 out there, but I made a 30-footer, and I just laughed as I went to get out of the hole. Is that fun? Not for me.
Yeah. No, good points. And I played Sharp Park. It was one of those courses where I got a lot of information on my visit, and I probably got to the point in the book where I didn't have room for it all. So it gets a quick mention, and I think I talk a little bit about some of the initiatives to try and restore it. And because I did play with, I played there with, and their names escape me, but some of the gentlemen that are behind trying to raise some money. Yeah, that are behind Save Sharp Park. So I was there with Save Sharp Park.
Okay.
And so
This
I
is
got
amazing info because we were sitting here being like, well,
Where are they?
Is it happening or is it not?
Yeah,
because this has
so
been happening for a long time.
What's interesting to hear that is unfortunate because I was there in 2019, right? And I guess the effort to save Sharp Park is still, well, hopefully it's still ongoing, but it's, I guess it wouldn't be, by what you're saying, it's not where they'd want it to be. But my understanding is that they were constantly running up against the bureaucracy of the fact that it's city owned. That the city views and the people in the parks and recs, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but my impression was that they viewed golf as elitist, and this ground should be a park, and that that it won't. So the folks that are, I think your instincts are correct. The people that are in charge of it don't really give a damn about it and don't want it to be a golf course. Now the Save Sharp Park folks are doing it sounds like they're doing their damnedest, but it's tough. It's tough unless you do what happened, I think, at what happened at Cobb's Creek was, and it took them years to lobby city government, but they got the lease away from the city. And they got like 100-year lease for $1 or something like that, and you know that what I don't actually know what the specific deal was, but they got the rights, a contingent on restoring it and making it a community place and making it affordable for Philadelphians and all these things that would be good for the city. But the city was just like, we're not in the golf business, we can't do this. And until someone in San Francisco city government is motivated to say that. And do that and turn it over to the Save Sharp Park people who do know their stuff and
They do.
involved in it is the what's his name, the guy from Chambers Bay.
Jason.
So he's great. He knows his stuff. It seems like they've done a few little projects here and there a lot through the years, but they're just never going to get the go ahead to really to do what they want to do, the way that it's currently structured. So I mean, I think they battled off. There was a point where it wasn't going to be a golf course anymore because of they found a rare snake there or something, and
a frog, right?
There was a frog and something. So Save Sharp Park, they were able to fight that off and keep it a golf course, and that's always frustrating to me when people are like, no, we want to protect the land, so we got to get the golf course off. And I'm like, no, the land's protected because it's a golf course.
Because it's the golf,
right? When you turn it into like not a park or a park or something else, that's when it starts to get messed up, and then it becomes condos. So like when it has value as this playing space. There's a lesson that like David McClay Kid drove into me when he was talking about building links golf courses in Scotland. He's like, they want to protect this scientifically sensitive area, and I understand that. But when you don't have golf course on it, you know what they do with it. They you drive cars through here. Farmers dump shit in here. They fill it with garbage. You party out here. No one's respecting the land. You put a golf course on it, people stop fucking with it. And so that's why I like that way of looking at when you give the land purpose, you give it protection. And hopefully that's what happens at Sharp Park. And I think that's what I wrote about in the book, is that if it does get its purpose, then you will protect it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
But it's been a battle that I've been following since 2016 at this point. And when they first came on and Jason with State Apparel joined in and started helping with it as well. And they brought Gil out there. They had him do an entire surveillance of the course, and he was able to see what they needed to do, and the little things that he thinks to bring it back wouldn't cost a lot either, because it's really what's happened is maintenance has caused a lot of issues with the course. They've shrunk the greens to make it easier for them to maintain. They've taken bunkers out that were originally Mackenzie bunkers, so it was easier for them to mow. These things that still exist there that have just been covered up that need to be re-uncovered and exposed again. It, like you said, getting through the bureaucracy of San Francisco and someone needs to get in and convince the city to be able to hand it over to somebody else, or it's never going to go anywhere, because the city has had so long to be able to do something with this course. I mean, it's been in the state that it is, with the new holes on the other side of the road and everything after they were demolished by, the water and the flood. It's been that way for 75 plus years at this point. And, my dad grew up in Pacifica. That was where he was at until he was 16 years old. And he said the course has been in that condition since he was 15 years old, 14, 15 years old. And it's crazy. My dad's 69 years old. So that just tells you how long it's been that bad. And we all, like Ashton said, make excuses for it because it's got a place in our heart. And anybody that grew up in the Bay Area, anything Alistair McKenzie, we will fight to the death to make sure that stays in existence. Yeah. And so there Ashton comes from Atlanta. I'm gonna roast him a little bit here.
It's not that I don't appreciate Alistair McKenzie. It's just like when you're putting on Plinko shit on a Saturday and you're like, well, it's got good bones. It's like, yeah, okay, I just ate that fish and just puked everywhere. I just don't.
It's like that old car that you had in high school that made it all the way through college. You're 2 years out of college and it's dying. It's on its last leg, but you just can't let it go. That's kind of what Sharp is to so many people that grew up in that area. So it's hard to let it go.
I can't tell if that's a great analogy or like the worst analogy ever. Like, I know what you mean, but it's like, and I know my perspective is different.
It's gonna take someone in Parks and Recs is gonna have to be a golfer. That's just gonna have to happen. And if until that happens,
maybe I should go try to get that job.
Dude, go, fight the power. Like, go get yourself elected. It's gonna take something like that. To be honest,
what Tron and them did with down and NLU did with the course down in Jacksonville.
Yeah, Jack's Beach.
Yeah, Jack's Beach. I mean.
I think this would be a little bit tougher, but no, I hear you. I'm going to give some, as someone who's lit Sharp Park on fire a lot, I will do some homework on the SF Park stuff. But Tom, I have one last question. We'll get you out of here. Okay. This is like something that's like deeply personal to me. And I think for me, when you're kind of thinking about this podcast, Chris, the way he is, he's this Mr. Golf Course, got 10,000 things. What really struck me, I think, when your book really hit me hard, the quote that I quoted you about community, and also the connection to my dad. So my dad's the one who got me into golf. There's pictures of me, with a golf club in my hand where I can barely stand up. And I've had this really weird thing happen in my life where my dad, for context, my dad's like a 2 handicap now, great player, but has the putting yips, and it's totally affected his ability to appreciate golf at all at this point. But with that in mind, when I was a kid up through, college, my dad was always like, hey, do you want to play? Hey, do you want to play? Hey, do you want to play? And generally my answer was no. I was like, nah, I'm good. You want to hit balls? No. Now in my late 20s, golf has become my obsession. And now I'm the one asking him, hey, do you want to play? And he's now telling me no. And I think what really struck me in your book is when you talk about your dad and watching your dad, have to move up tees and be able to play less often. Like, my dad right now is in better shape than me. He's, going to start trying to compete a little bit on the senior circuit and, can hit it as far as anybody. But he doesn't have and hasn't had a golf pump for really as long as I can remember. And a big reason why is he would tell you he hits it to 6 feet and misses the putt, and it just kind of ruins it for him. And his buddies drag him out there. But he doesn't really have a golf pump, and that's hard for me because I'm trying to plan our Bandon trip. He's never been, and I've asked him for 6 months, give me a month, give me a season, and he's very I can tell I'm not even sure he wants to go, and I don't really know what the question is. But talking in your book about how getting golfers together, it feels like our therapy about being able to say stuff. I just wanted to ask you just to almost talk about it with you because, golf and your dad, and I know for Chris too, but I know your connection to your dad is so important. And I just want to spend, my dad's young, my dad's 55 years old, but I want to spend my remaining years playing golf with him. And I know I live on the West Coast and he's on the East Coast, but right now it's we're going to play once a year. And that just doesn't feel good enough to me for, I'm playing 60, 70 times a year and my dad's a 2 handicap and we can play once a year and I just don't like it.
Yeah, man. That is a really unique situation because for your dad to be that good, but not be dragging you out to play golf all the time is unique. But God, the yips, right? I can understand that. And it's got to be frustrating to know what he can do, what he should be able to do, and can't do it. And that's a feeling that I felt in, like, when I was doing Paper Tiger or whatever. I mean, that sort of golf blues is a real thing. So I can see that. But yeah, I mean, you got to keep getting them out there, because those experiences, obviously the America book, that's very much what it became about, is my relationship with my dad. Yeah. And I wouldn't have that relationship, like all of us who play golf, and with dads who golf, we would not have the relationships that we have with our fathers if it weren't for golf, because you just don't spend, maybe if you fish or if you do something else, but I'm a golfer and we're golfers. So I was able to spend a lot more time with my dad than I would have, travel a lot more with my dad than I would have. So you just got to keep dragging him out there. Has he tried, I don't know, has he tried the arm lock, or
he's doing something with, like, the lab putter right now. He's I mean, I give him credit. He's trying.
Okay.
But I guess it was just specific because I lived in SF, then I moved back home to Atlanta for a year and a half, then moved back to SF. When I was home, it was during COVID, because I was going to move out here right when COVID hit. And in my head, I was like, cool, I'm going to have 3 months, live in my dad's basement and play a bunch of golf. And there was just like 4 or 5 times, I was like, I'd wake up and I'm like, hey, I don't have a meeting till 1 o'clock East Coast. Let's go. I got a tea time. And he'd just be like, he'd just look at me with this blank look and go, I just don't want to, man. And after like 4 or 5 times, I stopped asking. And it's very weird because, again, like, it was always the opposite way around. Like, my dad's like, hey, I'm going to go hit balls. You want to come? And I'm like, nah. And he's like,
yeah,
you should. And now it's like, like, again, it's like, I want to go. He's never actually been international. I think he went like Mexico once, but he's never been international at all. So he's never been to Ireland, never been to Scotland, has never been to Bandon, has never been to like Sand Hills. I don't know. It's just like such a tough thing for me where, again, I'm like, hey, and actually it was so sweet. My boss, actually, when I quit my old job, he gave me a $2,000 gift card to Bandon. It was like, hey, I want you to use this on the trip to Bandon with your dad. And I FaceTime my dad and I had tears in my eyes. And this was a year ago, and it's like, he still won't give me like when someone's like, it's like, yeah, we'll see each other at some point,
Yeah.
I'm like, Dad, can you just give me a season? Like, I'll handle everything. It's largely paid for. And it's like, yeah, there's just a lot going on. Like, I'm talking about November of next year. Like, you're not booked that far. So,
I think the good news is that when it clicks, if it's an arm lock or a long putter or something, and he starts making it and he starts rolling it, golf is, it's crack, and it'll come back. And that feeling of like, ooh, I can do this again, is, I don't know. I have a feeling that it'll pull him back in, and it can happen. And it can just, it's like a snap. It can just happen, right? Where it's like, ooh, I like that, and I want to keep doing that. And then once you open those floodgates, it's a torrent, And I've had times when I've quit. Like, after doing Paper Tiger, I stopped. It was just like, I gave enough of my life to golf, and I'll never be that good again, and blah blah blah, or different periods in my life where I just said, I'm not going to be as good as I was, and I don't want to play anymore. And then you hit, and then it's just, you have a round where you're like, ooh, I like that. I liked how that felt. So just keep pushing them. It'll happen.
And selfishly, I mean, I'm a 6 handicap who's broken par, and I've never beaten my dad.
Wow. Yeah, well, you got
a 29-year-old kid, 6 handicap, broken par, and I've never beaten him.
Dad, don't take that satisfaction away from me, Dad. That's not right.
So
it'll happen.
One good thing is, so him and his buddy Johnny used to do this 30-year event called the Ross, where they would play a different Donald Ross course every year, and hold this annual tournament that they would do. So we got this great idea that we were going to kind of copy what they did, and we created this thing called the Modern Golden Age Invitational. So basically, we're going to rotate every year from now on through Gil Hance, Tom Doak, and Corin Crenshaw courses. So
Nice.
our first year, we're going to do Soul Park down in Southern California, just because when we were at Rustic, we came out Soul Park, and I think all of us just fell in love with it that were on the trip. It was just one of our favorite courses, even though it wasn't a full, build by him. It was a renovation. The things that you feel Hance in that place when you go out there and play it. So that's one thing I'm very excited. We did get his dad to agree to come out and play, and we're gonna have him and his buddy Johnny, who both are near scratch golfers, come out. We're gonna do a Ryder Cup style tournament, 32 people deep, and then me and his dad are gonna be the captain of one team, and then Ashton and his dad's buddy Johnny are gonna be the captains of the other team. So
That sounds awesome. That'll get him back into it.
Like a pass the torch kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then I'm hoping next fall I can get him to Bandon, so it's like,
Yeah.
are you seeing, man?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you seeing?
Yeah.
That's going to be a really good start, dude. It sounds like an awesome time.
So we're gonna
Love it.
definitely send you an invite. No pressure if
Love
you
it.
can come or not, but we're gonna send them out to all our buddies
I
that know
appreciate
Laying
it.
Up, and so we're hoping to get a great crowd out there, and some good people. I think Matt Cardis is gonna come out there and hang out with everybody as well. So
Awesome.
it's gonna be a good time.
Let me know. I'd love to do it.
We absolutely
Awesome.
will.
All right.
Speaking of that, Tom, thank you for spending 90 minutes with us. This was a pleasure, and
Absolutely.
it's so lovely to meet you, and thank you for sharing all your stories.
Guys, it was a lot of fun. I love what you're doing, and keep in touch. And next thing, we just got to play some golf.
Yes, sir. Anytime you're on the West
Sounds like a
Coast,
plan.
we'll make it happen. So just hit us up, and we'll be there.
All right, man. Be well.
All right.
Awesome.
Take care,
Thank you,
Tom.
Take care. We'll see you.